Hello friends, welcome to my channel and today we are with a new thing, Attitude is Everything, Part 1. Lesson 1, Your attitude is the window to the world. Better keep yourself clean and bright, you are the window through which you must see the world. George Bernard Shaw. It was just 1 pm and Sarah was getting hungry. She had put in a few productive hours of work at her desk and decided to get a bite to eat a nearby shop. A few minutes later, Sam walked into the coffee shop. He too was on his lunch break. Sam sat down at the table a few feet away from Sarah. The same waitress served Sarah and Sam that afternoon. Each customer waited about the same amount of time before the waitress took the order. Each of them received their meal around the same time. Each of them was served well prepared, wholesome food, and each waited the same amount of time for the waitress to deliver the check. But that's where the similarities ended. Sarah had walked into the coffee shop with a smile, spring in her step, and a very positive outlook to the world. It was plain for everyone to see her. Her body language and her posture reflected her optimism. Sarah had delightful lunch, exchanged some pleasant conversation with the waitress, and went back home with a recharged battery. Sam, on the other hand, had entered the coffee shop with a scowl on his face. He looked like he'd been sucking on sour pickles all morning. He was hunched over and tense. His body language cried out, "Stay away from me." He was annoyed when the waitress didn't take his order immediately and was annoyed at how long it took to meal arrive. He complained about the food and was furious when he didn't get his check right away. Why did Sarah and Sam had a different experience in the coffee shop? Remember that each was treated in an exactly same way. It comes down to this. Sarah sees the world with a positive attitude. Sam sees the world with the negative attitude. Definition of attitude. Think of your attitude as the mental filter through which you experience your world. Some people see the world through the filter of optimism, the glass being half full, while others see life through a filter of pessimism, the glass being half empty. Let me give you some examples to explain the difference between a positive attitude and a negative attitude. A person with a negative attitude thinks I can't. The person with the positive attitude thinks I can. The person with the negative attitude dwells on the problem. The person of the positive attitude concentrates on solution. The person with negative attitude finds fault in with others. The person with the positive attitude looks good for others. The person with negative attitude focuses on what's missing. The person with positive attitude counts his or her blessings. The person with the negative attitude sees limitation. The person with the positive attitude sees possibility. Could go on with example, but I am sure you get this idea. When I talk to the audience about attitude, I often like to use word pictures. They help people to understand and remember what I said. Let me paint this picture for you. Your attitude is your window to the world. Everyone starts with a clean mental window. Let's take a few moments to discuss why I say that your attitude is your window to the world. We all start our life with a good attitude. Or should I say, clean mental window? Just watch young children. They are always laughing and giggling. They have sunny disposition. They love to explore new things. Consider the attitude of a child who is learning to walk. When stumbles and falls down, what does he do? I'll tell you what he doesn't do. He doesn't frown or blame the carpet. He doesn't point the finger at his mother or father for giving him lousy instruction. He doesn't quit. Oh no! He smiles and get up again and makes another attempt and other. He keeps going on for weeks and weeks with a positive attitude until he gets his right. His window is squeaky clean and he feels like he can conquer the world. But as you know, there comes a point where life starts throwing some dirt at our window. And here's what happens. Our window gets splattered by criticism from parents and teacher. Our window gets smudged by ridicule from peers. Our window gets smeared by rejections. Our window gets soiled about disappointments. And our window gets clouded by doubts. The problem is the dirt keep building up and all too many people do nothing about it. They continue to go through life with a filthy and bad window. They lose their enthusiasm. They are frustrated and depressed. And most tragically, they give up on their dreams all because they failed to clean their attitude window. That's the road I'm traveling down. I had a dirty window when I was an attorney, and as long I stayed that field, the failure my window got. I saw no possibilities. How could I? My window was splattered with the mud of negativity. Wash your window. But then, by the grace of God, I learned that all I had to do was to clean off my window. I had to improve my attitude so I could see the world clearly again. After I removed the grime from my window, a whole new world appeared from me. The frustration and depression lifted. I had more confidence. For the first time in many years, I could see the magnificent possibilities that life had to offer. And I was able to make a career transition and do work that I absolutely love. When you really think about it, I am the business of helping people to clean off their window to get a better attitude. Do you see what I mean when I say the attitude is your window to the world? Can you appropriate how your attitude affects the way you see in your life? More importantly, are you beginning to see those areas where your window needs to be washed? You control your attitude. It's job to keep your window clean. Sure, I can give you a little encouragement and other people can encourage you, but in the end, nobody else can do it for you. You see, you always have a choice. You can leave a filth on your window and look at life through a smear glass, but there are consequences to that approach and they are not very pretty. You'll go through life with negative and frustrated. You will be unhappy. You will achieve only a fraction of what you are capable of achieving. There's a better way. When you choose to take out your squeaky and clean your window, life will be brighter and sunnier. You will be healthier and happier. You will set some ambitious goal and begin to achieve them. Your dreams will come alive again. Still doubting where you really have the power to change your attitude? Perhaps you are thinking, Jeff, that's easy for you to say. Your attitude wouldn't be so good if you had my problems. Granted, some really devastating things may have happened to you. You may have endured much suffering. Perhaps you are going through some tough times right now. But even under the worst circumstances, I still contented that you have the power to choose your attitude. I'm not saying it's easy, but the fact remains the choice is yours. Let me tell you about a man who is well qualified to speak on the subject of attitude. His name is Dr. Viktor Frankl, and he went through hell on earth and managed not only to survive but to inspire a million of people. You see, Viktor Frankl endured years of horror as a prisoner in Nazi death camps. To make matter worse, his father, mother, brother, and his wife died in the camps or were killed in gas chambers. Every day, Frankl and other prisoners suffered from hunger, cold, and brutality. Can a person control his or her attitude in a situation like that? Here's what Viktor Franklin or Dr. Frankl had to say about the importance of attitude. In his best-selling book, Man's Search for Meaning, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last human freedoms to choose one's attitude in a given circumstances, to choose one's own way, even through tough conditions such as lack of sleep, insufficient food, and various mental stresses, may get suggest that inmates were bound to react in certain ways. In the final analysis, it becomes clear that the sort of person the prisoner became was a result of an inner decision and not the result of camp influence alone. Now, if Dr. Viktor Frankl and other prisoners had the ability to choose their attitude in the face of such unspeakable suffering, Who are we to claim that we cannot take control on our attitude? As Hugdown said, a happy person, it's not a person in a certain set of circumstances, but rather a person with a certain set of attitudes. That's a powerful statement and it is truth. When it's all said and done, you and you alone control your attitude and success. Okay, let's say you clean off your window and develop a positive attitude. You are smiling and you sit and think positive thoughts. Will that alone lead to you outrageous success and the realization your fondest dream? No, it won't. Because there's more success than just having a great attitude. To maximize your potential, achieve your goals, you need to apply certain time honored principles of success that have helped millions of people to achieve extraordinary results. And they'll do the same for you. In the next 11 lessons of this book, I'll be taking you through these success principles step by step. You will learn about confronting your fears, overcoming adversity, harnessing the power of commitment, and much more. You will get the information and inspiration you need to start living the life you've always dreamed about. Still, you may be wondering, what do these success principles have to do with attitude? In a word, everything. Why, that's, I say, attitude is everything. Without a positive attitude, you can't activate the other principles. Your success in life begins and ends with your attitude. It's only when you clean your attitude window that the other success principle can shine through. If your window is smudged, only a fraction of light of these principles can get through. Your success is limited or even blocked. But when you learn to keep your attitude window clear, the light comes out pouring in and you can use these empowering principles to earn some more money, having more satisfying relationship, increasing your spiritual awareness and reach your full potential. When you combine a positive attitude with other success principle, you become unstoppable. Lesson 2. You are a human magnet. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. By Henry Ford. What's the key to success? Why do some people succeed while others fail? Earl Nightingale, the great success writer, broadcaster, and speaker, addressed this issue in his famous recorded message entitled The Strangest Secret. In this program, he identified key to success in just 6 words. Of course, he went on to explain in more detail, but the foundation of his success secret is only 6 words. You'd like to know the 6 words, wouldn't you? Well, before I tell you the key to success, you might be surprised to learn that the same 6 words are also the key to failure. Are you ready for the key to success? Here it is. We become what we think about on a gut level. Does that make sense to you? In his research on the subject, Nightingale found that all the greatest writers, philosophers, and religious readers have agreed that on our thoughts determine our actions. Here are the observations of a few great thinkers on this point. Napoleon Hill said, "What the mind can convince and believe, the mind can achieve." Nurture your mind with great thoughts by Benjamin Disraeli. The Bible contains numerous references to thinking, including these. According to your faith, be it unto you. Matthew 9:29. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. If you can believe, all things are possible. Mark 9:23. Ralph Waldo Emerson put in this way, a man is what he thinks about all day long. Robert Collier offered this insight, there is nothing on the earth you cannot have once you have mentally accepted the fact that you can have it. And finally, there are the well-known words of Henry Ford, who said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. How this principle works. Let's examine this about a concept a little further, that we become what we think about. Here how it's work. If you constantly think about a particular goal, then you will take steps to move forward. Let's say that someone whom we call a Fred thinks he is capable of earning $30,000 per year. Like a human magnet, Fred will attract those employment opportunities that will move him in that direction. As long as Fred clings to that thought, he'll reach the goal of earning 30,000 per year. Now what if Fred begins thinking, "Hey, I'd like to earn more money to meet the growing needs of my family. I want to learn $50,000. Will Fred's income increase? It depends. Just how strong is Fred's belief that he can earn $50,000? It's quite possible that Fred would like to earn $50,000, but he doesn't believe that he is really capable of earning that amount. In that case, Fred will not reach his income goal of $50,000. If, on the other hand, Fred continually thinks about earning the higher income and believes in his ability to achieve the goal, he will, in fact, increase his income to $50,000. As you might expect, this concept is not limited to monetary goals. Suppose you are shooting a round of 95 on the goal course right now. By concentrating on bringing that score down to 85 and truly believing in your ability to do so, you will begin to take steps to move toward that goal. You may take lessons, you may practice more, but in the end, you will bring your score down and reach your objective. Dominant thoughts rule the day. The idea that we become what we think about has been expressed as the law of dominant thought. This means that there's a power within each of us that propels us in the direction of current dominant thoughts. The key word here is dominant. You can't expect positive results when you spend 10 seconds a day thinking positively and the remaining 16 walking hours dwelling on negative outcomes. Here's the bottom line. A little positive thinking doesn't produce positive results. Just like a little bit of a diet doesn't work, it's little trying to lose weight by eating a healthy low calorie breakfast and then pigging out on cake and ice cream for the rest of the day. The same is the true exercise. You can't do a few minutes of exercise once a week and expect to be physically fit. Look at the positive thinking in the same way. A little bit just doesn't get the job done. Instead, you must take control of your mental activity and think positively throughout each day and until it becomes a habit. Remember, it has to be your dominant thought pattern. Take a moment to consider your dominant thoughts in a major area of your life. Are they serving you or holding you back? Attitude adjustment leads to real estate ownership. Let me share a personal example to demonstrate the power of our thoughts. In the 1970s and early 1980s, I observed many people in my area, Long Island, New York, who were making a lot of money by purchasing homes for investment purposes and renting them out. The homes were appreciating in value considerably each year. Sure, there were usual headaches to having deal with tenant problem, but the return these investors were getting was incredible. Well, I kept thinking that I should start buying some investment homes, but I never took any action because I continued to doubt home myself. My thinking was dominant by all the actions that could go wrong. Simply put, I had a lousy attitude. And with a negative attitude, is it any wonder that I never took the first step? However, I started reading books and listening to tapes on the power of attitude and belief. I decided to change my attitude about real estate investments. In the summer of 1986, I decided that before the end of that year, I would purchase 2 investment homes. This time, I wasn't going to allow any negative thoughts to creep into my mind. For 6 months, I focused my thinking on just one thing: owning 2 investment homes. I wrote down my goals several times each day and referred to them often. I believed that at the deepest level of my being that I'd been own 2 homes before the end of the year. In the evening and on the weekend, I went with real estate agents to look at homes. I personally visited about 100 homes and researched 100 of other. In the fall of 1986, I purchased an investment property. What a great feeling of accomplishment! to do something that I wouldn't allow myself to do before. But I still had to work to do. And on December 29, just 2 days before the end of the year, I reached my goal and bought the second investment home. As I look back at why I was able to purchase the real estate in 1986, while I couldn't do it in the years before, then the answer is clear. In 1986, I believed that I could do it. I had an unshakable positive attitude that propelled me forward to reach my goal. This entire experience was tremendously valuable to me. In fact, it was priceless, and because it taught me that you can achieve your goal when you believe in yourself and keep your thoughts focused on the positive. Attitude versus action. I've been talking a lot about thinking, and you might be wondering where actions fits into this process. It's not true that you don't get results without action, but recognize that thoughts precedes in action. I always knew that action that I had been to buy those investment property, contact realtors, visit properties, review newspaper listings and so on, but I never took the first step as long as I had a negative attitude. The instant I changed my attitude, I felt compelled to take the action, and nothing was going to stop me. That's why a positive belief system is the starting point for the achievement of any goal. When your dominant belief is that you can achieve your goal, you begin taking decision that takes actions necessary to move in that direction. Your circumstances reflect what you've been thinking about. Face this fact: your belief brought you to where you are today, and your thinking from this point forward will take you where you will be in the future. In fact, your results in every area of your life reflect your deeply held thoughts about yourself. Consider your finances. What are your beliefs in this area? Are you constantly thinking about having enough money? Dwell on that thought, a lack of funds, and you will block the flow of money to you. And then there's much matter of relationship. If you think that you don't deserve much, you attract friends and partners into your life who won't treat you very well. Always seems to go out with a wrong person. In fact, the last 29 people they've gone out with wrong for them. Do you think there is a mere coincidence? Oh no, there is a deeply held belief inside that individual that attracts these people into his or her life. And whether we are talking about finances, relationships, or careers, the fact remains: if your thoughts don't change, your results won't change. Change your thinking. Fortunately, there's our exciting news. You can change your thoughts, thereby changing your results. Here's how. For starters, to become aware of what you say in yourself all day, each of us has internal voice. In other words, we talk to ourselves too often. However, what we say is negative, critical, and self-limiting. Perhaps you find yourself thinking, I can't do this, or I always mess up things up. These thoughts work against you. Instead, repeat to yourself that you can and will accomplish your goal. And we'll discuss more fully in part 2 of this book. It's also important to become aware of the words you use on a regular basis. For example, do you put yourself down to talk about the things you could never have or achieve? Your mind hears every word you speak, and like a magnet, you will ultimately attract the events and circumstances that correspond to your dominant belief. So, make sure to use positive words about yourself and your goals. Repetition is the key. Here are two more actions, two steps, how help you become more positive and gets the result you want. Step 1. Every day read some positive, uplifting literature. Find 15 to 30 minutes in the morning to do this. And it's also good idea to do some reading right before bed. There are literally thousands of motivational book and article to choose from. Read whatever speaks to you. It could be Bible or other spiritual material, or perhaps inspiring biographies. You will find a wide selection of success books in the psychology and self-improvement section of any bookstore or library. So check them out. Step 2. Every day, listen to motivational audio programs. You can listen to them in your car while commuting, at home, or during your exercise routine. This key is repetition. When you hear these messages over and over, they become a part of you, and you begin to implement them to improve your life. They will get your thinking about your attitude and other success principles on a daily basis. Of course, for audio programs are not substitute for action, it's up to you to put these ideas to work. Nobody succeeds beyond his or her wildest expectation unless he or she begins with some wild expectation by Ralph Sherrill. So, if you read something positive and listen to motivational audio programs every day, it will make a phenomenal difference in your life. I can tell you from personal experience that these techniques work if you have discipline to stick with them. The lessons I've learned is this: change your thinking and you change your life. You will become what you think about. Don't count on overnight success. Before concluding, I'd like to clarify a few things about positive thinking and the power of our thoughts. First of all, positive thinking doesn't mean that you will achieve your goals overnight. It's not as if you start thinking about making more money and the next morning you wake up find a stack of dollar bills at your beside. Not by a long shot. Success requires effort, commitment and patience. And secondly, positive thinking doesn't mean that you won't have any more problems. Believe me, you will have a plenty of setbacks along the way. However, if you will continue to believe in yourself, take action and persist, you will overcome those obstacles. Remember, you are constantly moving in the direction of your dominant thoughts. Everything you achieve in your lifetime flows dominant thoughts. From your thoughts and beliefs, negative thinking yields negative results, and positive thinking produces positive results. Keep your attitude window clean and bright so that positive thoughts can come shining through. It simply makes no sense to think negative attitudes unless you want to get negative results, and I know you don't want that to happen. So, from this point forward, choose your thoughts wisely and use this powerful principle to get fantastic results in your life.
Picture your way to success. You must first clearly see a thing in your mind before you can do it. Alex Morrison. In a television interview, singer Celine Dion was asked if she ever dreamed at the start of her career that someday she'd sell millions of records and be on tour singing in front of 10,000 people each week. The singer replied that none of this surprised her, as she had pictured the whole thing since she was 5 years old. She was not bragging and has worked unbelievably hard, earned every bit of her success. What she learned at an early age was her ability to tap into the power of holding a vivid, powerful image to picture the star she wanted to become. World class athletes also incorporate the power of imagery to reinforce in their mind exactly how they want to perform. Whether it's a figure skater completing a difficult jump, a tennis pro acing his opponent with a perfect serve, or a golfer driving the ball long and straight down the fairway, many top competitors mentally envision in a successful outcome before actually achieving it in the real world. Visualization, however, is not something reserved solely for singers, athletes, or movie stars. In fact, it's something you've used since childhood to create circumstances of your own life. Let me clarify what I mean. Visualization is often described as the movies of the mind. In a pictures or images, we all store pictures in our mind about the type of relationship we deserve, the degree of success we'll attain, the extent of our leadership ability, the amount of money we'll earn and accumulate, and so on. Mental movies from childhood. Where do these pictures come from? Well, we begin to develop our mental movies in early life. If we were criticized or felt unworthy with those events as images in our mind, because we frequently dwell on these pictures both consciously and subconsciously. We tend to create life situation that corresponds to the original image. For example, you may still hold a vibrant image of being criticized by a teacher in elementary school. You felt humiliated in the front of the whole class, Later on, when you were tempted to offer your opinion in school or in a group of people, you held back and kept quiet, all while remembering, even if only a subconscious level, how painful it was when you were criticized. The picture remains in your mind and exerts tremendous influence over your present actions. Unfortunately, many of us has not updated or revised our childhood movies. So we are continually producing results that fall short of our potential. What follows are some techniques for using the power of visualization to improve virtually every aspect of your life. Take responsibility for your own movies. Not all mental pictures can be traced to your childhood. You are constantly generating mental movies based on your relationships, career experiences, and other events. No matter what the source of your mental image, there's one point that I want to drive home. You and only you are in control of your own movies. Let's try a short experiment. Think about an ice cream cone filled with your favorite flavor of your ice cream. Does that create a picture or image for you? I'll bet it does. Okay, now think about an elephant. Can you see it? Change the color of elephant to pink. In a fraction of second, you formed a picture of pink elephant. Can you bring back the picture of the ice cream cone? Of course, you can. Can you see what I mean? You have control over the pictures that occupy your mind. However, when you don't consciously decide which picture to play, your mind will look into the archives and keep replaying old movies on file in your mental library. Change the meaning of the old movie. It doesn't serve you deny what happened in past experience. No matter how painful or disappointing, you can't, for instance, change the fact that you were criticized by a teacher. You can, however, alter your interpretation on the event. That is, at the time you were originally criticized, the meaning of you might have assigned to the experience. I'm not good, I'm not enough, my opinions are worthless. While this was the interpretation of the child, you may have inadvertently carried it into your adult life. Today, though, you can consciously choose to view the situation differently. For example, the teacher have disagreed with you, but it wasn't a statement about your intelligence or your overall worth as a person. Create new pictures. We can create a new mental movies whenever we choose to do so. And when we develop and concentrate on new images that evoke powerful feelings and sensations, we'll act in ways that support those new pictures. So, first step is to create image of your own desired outcomes. You are limited only by your own imagination. As you know, most people are terrified about public speaking. In survey after survey, it is listed as the one fear that people have ranked ahead of the fear of death. So when most people are asked even to consider making a speech, what kinds of picture do they run through their mind? They see themselves standing nervously in the front of the audience. Perhaps they are having trouble with remembering what they want to say. Run these images over and over your mental screen, and you can sure that you won't have much success as a speaker. Instead, form a picture of your mind in which you are confidently giving your presentation. Audience members are listening you in every word. You look sharp, your delivery is smooth. You tell a funny story and audience started laughing. At the end, you get a warm round of applause. People come afterward to congratulate you. Do you see how these kinds of mental images can help you become a better speaker? Recognize, however, the pictures in your mind are not fulfilled overnight, but by being patient and by persistently focusing on the mental images, you will automatically start acting in ways that support your vision. Picture your ways to sales success. If you are involved in selling a product or a service, it's vital that you see yourself succeeding on a consistent basis. If you are not getting the results you want, there's no question about that you are holding on to the pictures of sales mediocrity or sales disappointment as opposed to sales success. Right now, think about your next meeting with a prospect. In your mind, how do you see the encounter? Are you confident and persuasive? Are you enthusiastically explaining the benefits of what you are offering? Is the prospect receptive and interested in what you are saying? Can you vividly see a successful outcome to your meeting? Remember that your producer, director, scriptwriter, lighting coordinator, costume designer, and casting director of your own mental movies. You get to choose how they turn out by mentally rehearsing you and running successful outcomes through your mind. You are paving the way success in your sales career. Of course, if you are currently run images through your mind when prospect rejects your idea and has no interest in your presentation, you will attain very limited success from your sales efforts. You will attract those peoples and those situations that corresponds to your negative images. Relax and involve your senses. What's the best method to use when concentrating on your new images? It's been proven that your mind is most receptive to visualization when you are calm and not thinking about a lot of things simultaneously. So sit down in a comfortable chair at home, close your eyes, and do some deep breathing exercise to clear your mind and relax your body. Now develop images that involve as many senses you can. The more sight, sounds, smells, tastes, and touch put in your picture, the more powerful the pull for you to make your vision a reality. Here's an example. Let's say you've always dreamed your own beachfront in the Caribbean. Picture the white and peach colored house. See the green palm trees slowly swaying in the gentle breeze. Smell the salty air. Feel the warm sand between your toes. Feel the sunshine on your face. Isn't this a paradise? And all this can be yours if you are hold on to this image. Do what it takes to achieve you. Also remember that those images associated with strong emotions have even more power. So be sure to add positive feelings to your vision. For instance, when visualizing your ideal job, combine the vivid mental pictures and physically senses with the terrific emotion of pride and satisfaction you will have working in that new position. Vision is the art of seeing invisible to another by Jonathan Swift. Finally, don't be concerned having quality of your images at the outset. Some people can create lively color pictures while others have trouble getting anything more than a fuzzy image. It's also possible you may only be able to get a particular feeling at the beginning as opposed to a clear image. In any case, don't feel worry about it. Do the best you can do and don't compare yourself to anyone else. Your images will become sharper over time. The key to spend several minutes each day running these new movies in your mind. Write a check to yourself. It's extremely powerful formulate images of successful outcomes and to run through them your mind. But there's another technique you can use to accelerate your success. You can create visual aids to move you towards what you want. In 1990, while he was still relatively unknown, comedian Jim Carrey wrote a check to himself for $10 million dollars for acting services rendered. The check was post dated Thanksgiving 1995. As Carey was explaining, it wasn't about money. He knew that if he was making that much, he'd be working with the best people on the best material. Carey earned about 800 thousands of dollars for his work in Ace Ventura and The Mask. Then in late 1994, he was paid $7 million dollars for his role in Dumb and Dumber. In 1995, he earned many more millions and is now getting $20 million dollars per movie. Jim Carrey's post-dated check exercise is a great example of the power of subconscious mind to actualize a goal that is held with deep conviction and feeling. Thinking about your goal and forming images in your mind will go a long way creating the success you desire. However, when you also use tangible representation of your goal such as check, your chances of success are even greater. Now, I'm not sharing this example simply because it's an interesting story about Jim Carrey. The same technique can work for you too. Why not tear out one of your checks right away and post it 3 or 5 years from now and with the amount that you want to earn services rendered? Make sure to look at the check at least one day and believe that you are moving towards that goal. getting the job you want. You can visualize reminders to your advantage in a lot ways. It's not limited to checks. Here's an example involving a friend of mine who we call Robert Jones. Robert received his party's nomination for a judgeship and he'll be a ballot in upcoming election. While Robert stands an excellent chance of winning his election and realizing the dream of becoming a judge, he is still little nervous and doubts creates into mind. Now again, I suggested Robert that he make a handwritten sign where he writes Judge Robert Jones and put that sign where he'll see it every day, for example, on nightstand and on bathroom mirror. I'll also recommend that he writes these words on a card he can carry in his wallet. By looking at those words throughout the day, Robert is conditioning his mind to view himself as a judge. He is going to start thinking about wearing a black robes. He'll see everyone rise as he enters the courtroom. As these images will become stronger and stronger, Robert will take those actions that will bring this picture into reality. He'll campaign more and more. He'll make sure that his party is doing everything possible to get the voters out on election day. While Robert could have formed strong mental images without the use of sign, it has so much power with the visual aid. The sign is reminder to Robert to think about being a judge and to run successful image through his mind. Of course, there are no guarantees that this will work only for Robert or that will always work for you. But once you try this for yourself, I think you'll find that it's an incredibly powerful aid that help you to get whatever you want. So, is there a position that you want to achieve? Sales manager, supervisor, attorney, or owner of your own business? Whatever it is, create a visual ad and your mind will get to work in both ways to bring that picture into your life. If you can dream it, you can do it by Walt Disney. It works both ways. Be very careful when using visual reminders. Some people use negative ads with very serious consequences. Bumper sticker offer a prime example. While riding in my car a few years ago, I noticed a bumper sticker on the car in front of me. The bumper sticker read, I know, so afterward I go. In the last few years, I have seen the same silly little rhyme, right? Or a harmless joke. Wrong. There is nothing funny or harmless about this message. When you put something like that in your car, you are programming your mind will keep you in the debt. Think about someone who puts this bumper sticker on her car. We'll call her Alice. Every morning, Alice steps out to greet the day and sees the statement, I know. When it's time to leave work, she goes back to her car and see, I know. This idea will become embedded in her subconscious mind. She'll form a mental picture associated with the being in a debt. And if you recall the lesson too, Alice will attract what she thinks about most. In this case, she will attract lots of debts. If you ask Alice why she never have enough money, she'll say that she had bad luck. The truth is, Alice is careless about what's going on in her mind. The harmless little bumper sticker of today become your reality tomorrow. Alice is a perfect example of someone throwing more and more mud on an already dirty attitude window. If attitude is everything, then Alice's predominant attitude is I'm adapted. With an attitude like that, what do you think our future will bring? Prosperity or more debt? We both know the answer to that question. Well, there you have it. Some suggestion for creating and benefiting from your own mental movies. Remember, if you don't take control and develop your own movies, you will continue to replay the old ones. And the old movies, if the old movies in case are serving you, that's great. But if they are holding you back in any way, get started with today and use the incredible power of your mind to picture your way to greater success. Lesson 4. Make a commitment and you'll move mountains. What this power is, I cannot say. All I know is that it exists and it becomes available only when a man is in that state of mind in which he knows exactly what he wants and is fully determined not to quit until he finds it. Alexander Graham Bell. I used to think that I knew what commitment and persistence meant, trying hard, making a lot of attempts. However, I didn't grasp the true meaning of these concepts until I read a small paperback book entitled The Ultimate Secret to Get Absolutely Everything You Want by Mike Hernacki. Commitment is the essence of the ultimate secret. According to the author, the key to getting what you want is willingness to do whatever it takes to accomplish your object. Now, before your mind jump to the conclusions, let me add that in saying whatever it takes, I exclude all actions which are illegal, unethical, or which harm other peoples. So exactly what do I mean by this willingness? It's a mental attitude that say, if it takes 5 steps to reach my goal, I'll take those 5 steps. If it takes 55 steps to reach my goal, I'll take those 55 steps. If it also take 155 steps to reach my goal, I'll take those 155 steps. Of course, at the outset, you usually won't know exactly how many steps will be required to reach to your goal. This doesn't matter. To succeed, all that's necessary is that you make a commitment to do whatever it takes, regardless of numbers of steps involved. Where does persistent fit in? Persistent action follows commitment. That is, you first be committed to something before you persist to achieve it. Once you've made a commitment to achieve your goal, then you'll follow through the relentless determination and action until you attain the desired result. The magic of commitment. When you make a commitment and willing to do whatever it takes, you begin to attract people and circumstances necessary to accomplish your goal. For instance, once you devote yourself to become, say, a best-selling award author, you might suddenly bump into a literary agent or discover a television program offering advice on this very topic. It's not as if these resources never existed before. It's just that your mind never focused on finding them. Once you commit yourself to something, you create a mental picture of what it would be like to achieve. Then your mind immediately goes to work like a magnet, attracting events and circumstances that will help bring your picture into reality. It's important to realize, however, that this is not an overnight process. You must be active, seize the opportunity as they appear. The magic which flows from commitment and never has never been more eloquently or more accurately described than in the following words by W.H. Murray. Until one is committed, there is a hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts, initiative, and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would otherwise never have occurred. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor, and all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance which no man could have dreamt to would have come in his way. Doors will open. Here's another miraculous feature you of the power of commitment. You don't have to know at the outset how to achieve your goal. Sure, you're better off if you have plan of attack, but it's not essential that every step be mapped out in advance. Efforts only fully release its reward after a person refuses to quit, by a great writer, Napoleon Hill. In fact, when you have the willingness to do whatever it takes, the right steps are often suddenly revealed to you. You will meet people you never could have planned to meet. Doors will unexpectedly open for you. It might seem like a luck or good fortune is smiling on you. In truth, you'll have created these positive events by making a commitment and thus instructing your mind to look for them. Here's an example of how door unexpectedly opened for me. In 1989, I started writing a motivational articles. I'd learned about the power of a positive attitude and the other success principles, and I was committed to sharing this information with others who could benefit from me, but I had no idea from where to start. Do I send my articles to newspapers, submit them to magazines, write my own book? The first thing I did is I submitted my article to a local newsletter for people involved in training and human resources. The article was printed in the summer of 1990. A few months later, I got a phone call from the gentleman named Stuart Kamen, a freelance writer who also worked with business to produce newsletters. Stuart said he'd been selling my articles while visiting the home of his best friend and was impressed with it. Then he asked me, "Have you ever thought of writing a newsletter?" Quite frankly, I hadn't thought of doing my own newsletter. We arranged a meeting. Stuart explained how we could work together to produce a newsletter that would make these self-development concepts available to thousands of people. About 1 month later, the first issue of Attitude is Everything newsletter was published. I published the newsletter for nearly 20 years and reached hundreds of thousands of people. This life-changing information, with ordinary talent and extraordinary perseverance, all things are attainable. By Sir Thomas Buxton. How did it all happen? I was committed to sharing these principles with others. I had positive attitudes and I started writing. And then Stuart Kamen, a complete stranger, entered in my mind and life, someone who knew just how to turn my dreams into reality. Oh, the magic of commitment! A word of caution. Before you get too excited about waltzing easily toward your goals, I caution you. Even with a commitment, everything won't be rosy on your path. Life will test you to see how serious you are about achieving your objective. Obstacles will arise, you make mistakes and suffer disappointments and setbacks, some of which may be quite severe and even tempt you to abandon your goal. That's when it becomes important to follow the sage wisdom of Winston Churchill, who said, "Never, never, never give up." Or the advice provided by James J. Corbett, "You become a champion by fighting one more round. When things are tough, you fight one more round." If you've made a commitment to accomplish a goal, you can overcome temporary defeats and you will build triumph. Commitment pays off for aspiring novelists. Several years ago, American Way magazine carried a fascinating interview with the best-selling novelist David Baldacci. Baldacci is the author of immensely successful novel Absolute Power, Total Control, and the winner. Billions of copies of his books have been sold. Let me assure you, however, that Baldacci was no overnight success. His accomplishment and financial achievements were the result of his total commitment to developing his talents as a writer. Like me, Baldacci started out as a lawyer. He started law school in 1983 and didn't give any thought to become a best-selling novelist. He simply enjoyed writing. Yet, at the outset, Baldacci knew that he didn't have the necessary writing skills, so he made a commitment, as he put it, to learn the craft of writing. For the first few years, he didn't finish any of his project. Every day, he just worked on characters, plot development, and other writing basics. At the time he was practicing law, he and his wife had two young children. When did he find the time to do this writing? Baldacci worked on his writing every night from 10 p.m. until 2 a.m. Now that's a commitment to do whatever it takes. He pointed out, however, he had fun writing. It wasn't a chore. By the way, I'm not suggesting that you stay up all night to pursue your goals. That 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. shift certainly wouldn't work for me, and it may not work for you either. One person with a commitment is worth more than the 100 people who have only an interest. Marie Crowley. After 10 years of writing, Baldacci had completed some short stories and few screenplays. His total sales zero. All that he had to show his efforts were a lot of rejection from editor. In 1996, all of Baldacci's efforts were paid off. Big time. He received millions of dollars for the literary and movie right to his blockbuster thriller Absolute Power. The star of the movie was Clint Eastwood. Such is the power of a person. who is committed. He refused to quit. I've learned a lot about the magic of commitment from my good friend Jerry Gladstone. In 1986, Jerry started his own company, American Royal Art, selling a variety of collectibles. 1 year later, he decided to concentrate on selling animation art. He secured license with Warner Brothers, Hanna-Barbera, and others smaller studios, but he realized that to really grow his business, he needed to sell Disney art. For 3 years, he wrote letters and called Disney headquarters requesting permissions to sell Disney art. Each time, he got the same answer from Disney.
No.
That didn't stop Jerry. He kept contacting Disney executives. One executive finally had just above the all she could take of Jerry. So she, in a voice and a tone reminiscent of Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty, the Evil Queen from Snow White, and Cruella de Vil from 101 Dalmatians, all rolled into one. You'll never get a Disney license. Time to give up, right? Not Jerry. Through all these rejections, he kept a great attitude. He called more executives at Disney. And then one gentleman at Disney, hoping to get rid of Jerry once and for all, said, well, the only two places we would consider allowing for gallery of offering Disney artwork to open would be either in Minnesota or Massachusetts. Jerry's business was in New York and he had no desire to open a gallery remote location. Guess what Jerry did? He flew to the Boston that very next day, and by the end of the day he had signed a lease for place in a Newsbury Street in Boston. He called Disney executive to report that he had the Massachusetts location. They both had a good laugh. And then the executive said to Jerry, if you had the courage to go up Boston next day and open a place like that, they have to put your Disney on the Disney program. Within a few weeks, Jerry opened a Boston gallery featuring Disneyline. The rewards for those who persevere far exceed the pain. The must be precede victory. Ted Engstrom. Within a year, he was given permission to market the Disney line through his New York store. Jerry had now done business with Disney for decades. He had sold millions of dollars of Disney art and is the largest volume Disney animation art dealer in the world. Talk about the commitment. Talk about keeping a good attitude in the face of rejection. Jerry was going to get the Disney license no matter what it took. Just ask Jerry and he'll tell you in a New York minute. That attitude is everything. As long as it takes. I'd like to be share with you the story of Benjamin Roll, who lives in Newport Beach, California in 1990. At the age of 67, Roll graduated from law school. Naturally, before he could start practicing law, he had to pass California bar examination. On his first attempt at the examination, he failed. On his second attempt, he failed, and he failed the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, sixth time, seventh time, eighth time, ninth time, 10th time, 11th time, and 12th time, and the 13th time. Let me add one more important fact. The bar examination is given only twice each year. So at the time of his 13th failed attempt, Roll was now 73 years old. Most people would have quit, but not Benjamin Roll. He took the exam for 14th time and he passed. In 1997, at the age of 74, Roll was admitted to practice the law in state of California. Now here's a guy who's committed and willing to do whatever it takes. As Roll explained, I was going to pass the cotton picking exam if I lived long enough, and I did. Does this story tell you anything about the importance of attitude? Most people wouldn't ever consider starting law school in their 60s. Yet, here's someone who's not only enrolled in law school but was willing to spend 6 years after graduation to study pass examination. Wow! Benjamin Roll's story is simply further proof that attitude is everything. Time to make commitment. Now let's assume you have a goal in mind. The next question to ask yourself, am I willing to do whatever it takes to achieve this goal? If your answer is I'll do about anything except I had want to do dash, then frankly, you are not committed. And if you're not committed, it's likely that you will be derailed and not achieve your objective. For instance, many people start a new business and this approach, I will give 6 months to the prosper. If things doesn't work out of 6 months, I'll quit. This is not a mental attitude that leads to success. Where would novelist David Baldacci be if he had said, I'll try the writing for 1 year and if I can't sell anything, I will give up? He had missed out the opportunity to do what he loves, have financial independence, and live his dream. Now, I'm not suggesting you that you just bull ahead without a plan and hope for the best. Of course, you should set timetables, deadlines, and the budgets so you stay on the course and succeed as quickly as possible. But the reality is, despite your most careful plans, you don't know how long it will take to achieve your goal, and you can't foresee all the obstacles that will cross your paths. That's where commitment separates the winners from the losers. The committed people are going to hang in and the prevail no matter what, and if it takes a little longer than they thought, so be it. Those who aren't committed are going to give up the ship when things don't go their way. Now that you've learned about the power of commitment, it's time to apply the principle. So go ahead, select a goal of your, have a burning desire to achieve, make a commitment to do whatever it takes to achieve your goal. Start moving forward and get ready to notice and take advantage of all opportunities that come your way. Then follow through this persistent action and get ready to succeed.
Lesson 5. Turn your problems into opportunities. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Napoleon Hill. When faced with problems or setbacks in your life, what is your immediate reaction? If you are like most of the people, your first impulse to complain.
Why did this happen to me? What I am going to do now? My plans are ruined.
This response is only natural. However, after the initial disappointment wears off, you have a choice to make. You can either wallow in misery and dwell on the negative aspects of your situation, or you can find the benefit of the lesson that the problem is offering. Yes, you'll probably face a period of uncertainty or struggle, but there's always a flip side to the difficulty. You see, a problem is often not a problem at all. It may actually be an opportunity. For instance, a problem may point out an adjustment you can make to improve certain conditions in your life. Without the problem, you never would have taken this positive action. For example, you probably know or have heard about someone who lost his or her job and then went to start a new business. Often, that person will tell you that if he or she hadn't been laid off, the new business would never have been started. What started as an adversity ended up as an golden opportunity. How about the times you were absolutely convinced that a particular job was perfect for you? You had a great interview and just couldn't wait for the offer, but the offer never came. Someone else got the job. You were devastated. Days or months later, a new job came along and you realized that the first position was much less desirable than the one came along later. The earlier rejection was in fact a blessing. Another example is the deal on the dream house which falls through only be replaced with something even better. Finding the benefit. The New York Times printed an essay, Is There a Meaning to a Brain Tumor? Written by a 40-year-old woman named Sharon, who was told that she had a large tumor behind her left eye. The tumor was surgically removed in 6-hour operation. Fortunately, it was benign. Can you imagine someone finding a host of benefits in the frightening situation? According to Sharon, there have been many positives. Sharon was deeply touched by the outpouring of help and support the community gave to her and her family during the crisis. People in the community, some of whom were only acquaintances, provided evening meals for her husband and their children. Her friends made arrangements for her house to be cleaned. Sharon learned about the human capacity for kindness and for helping others in the time of need.
Having confronted the fragility of her own, Sharon now says that she had developed the more positive attitude and is eager to accomplish the goals she set while lying in her hospital bed. She also has developed a closer, more meaningful relationship with her brother and sister. As Sharon explained, it took a personal misfortune to her to see how good life can be. She has gained a new appreciation and zest for living by overcoming a trying and difficult experience. From tragedy to triumph. The road to success often travels through adversity. Just ask entrepreneur Dave Bruno. In 1980s, Bruno worked his way up to national sales manager for a medical equipment company. He and his wife Marilyn and their three young children lived in a lovely suburban house in Milwaukee. Things were looking good, but in 1984, Bruno lost his job, and several months later, while still out of work, Dave Bruno was driving home at night when his car veered off and road crashed. He suffered massive injuries, including collapsed lungs, broken ribs, a bruised heart, a ruptured spleen, and a lacerated liver. The doctors didn't know if he would live. Bruno himself thought he was going to die. After tenuously clinging to a life support system for 3 days, he was miraculously the clear. Bruno felt like he'd been given a second chance. No pressure, no diamonds, Mary case. While recovering in the hospital, he started to think about what he could do with his life prior to the accident, and indeed, the most of his life he had collected motivational and inspirational quotes he had learned as a youngster. The amazing power quotations could hold, as his mother had a habit of strategically placing them throughout the house and on refrigerator. They always lifted his spirits and provided direction. Suddenly, he had a flash of insight about what to do. He'd start a business to share these quotations with others so they too could be inspired, but he didn't have a clue about how to do it. And after he got out of the hospital, there he was more bleak news. Because of astronomical medical bills and inability to work, Bruno had declared bankruptcy. He and his family lost their home and moved into a cramped apartment. Yet Bruno would not give up on his dream. He pushed onwards with a positive attitude and relentless determination. Over the next few years, he took jobs where he could learn about marketing and printing. He was always looking for a vehicle for his quotations. One day, an idea hit him like a ton of bricks. He'd print the quotation on credit card stock. Later that evening, he was watching TV and saw a commercial for credit card company gold card. Even better, he thought print the quotes on metallic gold cards that people could take with them wherever they went. So he created a series of quotations on the topics such as attitude, leadership, persistence, and courage. He called them success gold cards. The Things Which Hurt Instruct by Benjamin Franklin. 5 years after leaving the hospital, Dave Bruno sold his first Success Gold card, and I am happy to report that he has now sold more than 2 million of those cards. Dave Bruno turned a tragic accident into an incredible triumph. Business disappointment is a blessing in disguise. Now, I don't want you to think that this principle only applies to tragedies because nothing could be further from the truth. I'd like to share a business example that reinforced my faith in this concept. In March of 1991, after an exhaustive research, I selected a company to screen print my Attitude is Everything t shirts. In late June, I committed myself to local and national advertising companies to market these t-shirts. A serious issue developed in early July. Instead of filling an order in 2 weeks as originally promised, the screen printer didn't fill the order for more than 5 weeks. This was unacceptable, and I decided to find another screen printer, but I had already established my pricing and delivery terms based on discussions with the original pin printer. This was major problem, right? What if I could find another company to deliver a product of equal quality at or near the same price? Well, rather than get depressed and curse my rotten luck, I immediately set out to get another better printer. Within 1 week, I found a printer I was looking for. Now, instead of having an order filled in 2 to 5 weeks, it is filled in 2 or 4 days. Nearly 20 years later, I'm still working with this vendor. Losing the first screen printer was the best thing that I could have happened. Of course, I didn't know it at the time, but I kept believing that I could make this seemingly bad situation turn out to my advantage. And I experiences this have taught me that when one door shuts, there is always a better one waiting to be opened. Career change emerges from frustration. My own career transition is another example of how benefits come from the problems and difficulties. I was never interested in self development materials until I had years of happiness after graduating from my law school. I only found these principles after I'd researched at a low point of my life. I now realize that all these miseries I endured were really blessings in disguise. I can see quite clearly how the events of my life set me up for what was to come. I had to go through the tough times and unhappiness and to break through the low mood so I would understand the power of a positive attitude. It is a rough road that leads to a heights of greatness by Seneca. So when someone tells me they're discouraged or it's obvious they have negative attitude, I know what that feels like. I've been there. By going through some challenging times, I learned things that are invaluable to me, and I can relate much better to those who hear my presentation and read my writings. And the reality, if I hadn't grown more and more dissatisfied with my work as an attorney, I never would have been open to switching careers. If I had rated my job as C or C minus, I would have kept praising and practicing the law. I would have settled for living C life. It is only because I was a D minus and heading for F that I motivated to make a change. When someone asks me why I changed career, I reply without hesitation, lots of pain, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's that pain too intense to ignore that forced me to make decision and move in another direction. Life is now A grade and things are only getting better. Now, let's look at your life. Can you think of any situation where a seemingly negative experience turned into a something positive? Maybe you were dismissed from a job and landed in better position, or perhaps you had a health problem. It caused you change in your diet to start exercising regularly. Carefully review the difficulties and setbacks you faced and identify the benefits and lessons. Adversity brings out our hidden potential. By the same writer of Attitude is Everything, Jeff Keller. How adversity serves us. At this point, let's examine 7 ways in which adversity can serve us. Adversity gives us perspective. Once you've recovered from a life threatening illness, a flat tire or a leaky roof doesn't seem so troubling anymore. You are able to rise above the petty annoyance of daily living and focus your attention on the truly important things in your life. Adversity teaches us to be grateful. Though your problems and difficulties, especially those which involve loss or deprivation, you develop a deeper appreciation for many aspects of your life. It's tried true. You don't usually appreciate something until it's taken away from you. When you have no hot water, you suddenly value hot water. Not until you're sick, you do cherish good health. The wise person continues to dwell on the blessings even after the period of loss or deprivation has passed. Remember, we are always moving in the direction of our dominant thoughts, therefore, concentrating on what you have to be grateful for brings even more good things into your life. Adversity brings out the hidden potential. After surviving a difficult ordeal or overcoming an obstacle, you emerge emotionally stronger. Life has tested you and you were equally to task. Then, when the next hurdle appears, you are better equipped to handle it. Problems and challenges bring out the best within us. We discover abilities we never knew we possessed. Many of us would never have discovered these talents if life hadn't made us travel over some bumpy ground. Adversity reveals to you and your strength and capacities and beckons to develop those qualities even further. Adversities encourages us to make changes and take actions. Most people cling to old familiar patterns and regardless of how boring or painful their lives have become, it is often to take a crisis or a series of difficulties to motivate them to make adjustments. Problems are often life's way of letting you know that you are, of course, and need to take corrective action. Adversity teaches us valuable lessons. Take the example of a failed business venture. The entrepreneur may learn something that enables him or her to succeed spectacularly on the next venture. Adversity opens a new door. A relationship terminates, you go on the more satisfying relationship. You lose your job to find a better one. In these instances, the problem is not a problem at all, but rather an opportunity in disguise. One road is in your life has been shut, but there is a better one waiting for you to be opened. Seventh, adversity builds confidence and self-esteem. When you muster all of your courage and determination to overcome an obstacle, you feel content and gain confidence. You have a greater feeling of self-worth and carry these positive feelings into subconscious subsequent activities. Look for the positive. Sure, you will have your share of problems and adversities in life. I'm not suggesting that when tragedies strike you, deny your emotion or refuse to face reality. What I am saying is don't immediately judge your situation as a tragedy and dwell on how bad off you are. Sometimes you won't be able to instantly spot the benefit that come from being in your situation, but it does exist. You always have a choice. You can view your problem as a negative and become gloomy and depressed about them. Let me assure you, this approach will only make things worse. Or you can see every seemingly negative experience in your life as an opportunity, as something you can learn from, as something you can grow from. Believe it or not, your problems are there to serve you, not to destroy you. So, the next time you suffer a problem or setback in your life, don't get discouraged or give up. Don't let the problem cloud your attitude window forever. Clean off that cloudy window. You may find after the dust settles that you can actually see a better than you did. Just remember the word of Napoleon Hill. Every adversity carries it with the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Continually ask yourself what you've learned from your trying experience and focus on moving forward and growing as a person. In times of crisis, always strive to maintain an optimistic attitude and an open mind, for this is the environment or that will always allow you to find the benefit in your difficulties.